Hello, crafty friends, and welcome back. I have a layout today for Christmas in July, and today I am documenting a picture of Cody with Santa last year. So these are some papers that I purchased that are from Paper Rose. It's an Australia company, and when my local scrapbook store, Memory Bound, got these papers in, I just thought they were gorgeous. I wasn't exactly sure how I was going to use them. It is definitely for my Christmas collection, but you could actually use some of these wood grain papers in anything other than Christmas. But since we did take Cody to get his picture taken with Santa at, um, oh, where did we take him? Bass Pro Shop? Yes, here in town. That was the first time we'd ever gone there last year. We went to the mall and it was extremely expensive to buy the photo package, etc. And here we just had to make an appointment to go see Santa, and the photo was actually free. So while it was stressful because I had never done this before and it's kind of hard to get on their schedule, especially on a day when my daughter actually, when he wasn't with his dad's side of the family. So um, that was the only stressful part, was making sure that they had an appointment available for when a time that worked for us. So anyway, back to the layout here. So I just cut down with my scissors along the lines of where the chevrons kind of went, and they were wonky on the paper how they were printed, which is kind of how wood would actually look anyway. So I did go ahead and rough up the sides, and I cut these 5 different strips, and so I'm actually going to, here I'm showing you the collection. It was actually a couple different Christmas collections, and I think I bought a piece of paper from both collections, that it was just absolutely uh, beautiful. And so, since it had this rustic look to it, that I thought it went really good with the background that they had for Santa. So I did go ahead and rough up the edges, and here pretty soon after I get done matting each of my photos, that I thought they needed a little bit of help standing out from some of the dark colors that were going to be on this layout. So here you can see that I start tearing off the top and bottom edges, and I am going to make it a staggered length for each one, getting taller up into the middle and then going back down to smaller lengths as it goes back to the other side. So, and then I did make sure that um, that the boards still looked as though they were chevrons as well. So here's my basic design here. And so I pulled this old My Mind's Eye piece of paper from my scrap bin, and originally I was thinking it was going to show more. Once I get my final layout done, you can't really see much of the music, but that's okay. It was um, more of the cream colored that I was hoping to just kind of pull from the entire layout here. So here I do pull out this other uh, paper from Paper Rose, and I do stick the pictures on to mat them on a specific section of the paper with more of the darker wood color. And I just used a tiny bit of adhesive to hold the pictures on, so I knew how big to make the block, because I did want to add this foam adhesive to the back of each picture. So there, I'm cutting that to size here, and I'm going to get those added to this brown section and get them trimmed to size. So when I use the foam, I do like to use one little strip of dry adhesive, or like a tape runner, and then also some liquid adhesive, just to make sure that it does stay adhered to the photo or the photo mat. So I did get those trim down to size. And then I'm going to start working on pulling embellishments and other things to create my title and clusters here. So there, that is done, and I kind of put everything back in place and take a look to see how it looks there. There you can see that now that I did the whiter, darker mats, that there is less of that music note showing. So here I'm getting those strips put down, and I decided I did want to sew those down to the page. So I'm just putting a tiny bit of liquid adhesive and then tearing off the edges once I get them glued down to the actual size that I want before I do the sewing. And here I am back, and the sewing is done. So I'm kind of just folding up those edges around the thread in the middle just to give it some additional texture on my actual layout. And that's actually the only place that I do, oh nope, looks like I do distress this piece, but I don't think I distress anything else on the layout. And normally if I distress one thing that I distress it all, but for some reason I decided that not everything needed to be distressed. So here you can see some of the things that I've pulled out, and just doing a dry fit to see where I want everything to go. So since I am focusing on that this is a visit to Santa, I pulled out several things that had Santa images on it to see if I could make them work on the layout. And so when I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do, that I did decide that I knew I wanted this Santa bingo card from 49 Market there at the top. And but I needed some additional color and layering pieces in there. So I also pulled out that piece of paper from Simple Stories, which had the tag paper on it. And so now I've got my additional color of green up there, and that is going to help me build my layering and clusters up here at the top. I also went through some of my 49 and Market ephemera for Christmas, and I did find that, well, the Santas from 49 and Market, the bingo card, as well as the mailbox where you would put your Santa letters. And so there I've added twine to the tag. I do trim it off, and then I use my Tim Holtz tiny attacher to staple the end there to kind of contain it on the layout here. So now I am starting to stick things down, and so since those sewn on strips are dimensional, I do add some foam adhesive under part of that background layer to help not get those other sewn down pieces squished down once I add my photos and all the other ephemera pieces on here. So I still wanted them to look dimensional. So there I found that cursive Mary title, and then I had this piece of ephemera from Simple Stories collection from last year. So my title is Merry Christmas. And then I guess the bingo card up above with Santa is a secondary title for my layout here. So Merry Christmas, and I just kind of tap that down so it doesn't squish down those sewn pieces that I had fluffed up, but it does stick down enough to stick to the higher levels of each of those torn pieces. So then I also had this ho ho ho, and I had this, you can see it there on the side, it's a chipboard piece, and I think that was from the Simple Stories adhesive brads. That's what they're called. And so I wanted this little Santa to look like he was dancing on top of that bottom ho ho ho. And so I did kind of have to move things around just a little bit to get the spacing just right. But I thought that was really cute with him, just so he wasn't floating, that gave him some grounding for him to stand on. And then I kind of finalize everything for this layout by using some more of the adhesive brads instead of pulling out my stash of enamel dots. So I just kind of scattered those around in a couple different places that to give some additional detail, and then that pretty much wraps things up for this particular layout. So if you have any questions for me, please feel free to leave those down below. Here is a close-up shots of the different areas and the stitching of the layout. I do have a list below of everybody playing along with Christmas in July, so go check them out. And I also have my Pinterest as well as Instagram accounts listed below, so go check those out if you want to see close-up shots of this project as well as many others. So thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next time. Bye.